The story begins with a drug dealer named Diego Paulo who has just arrived at his Colombian mansion, a place heavily guarded by heavily armed men stationed at various corners to ensure his safety, because as an illegal businessman, Diego is known to have many enemies who could attack at any time. After getting out of the car, he went straight to his private room to meet his fiancée and relaxed in the bathtub, not realizing that a mysterious sniper was aiming for him from a distance, and just seconds later, a bullet pierced through the window and hit him in the head, killing him on the spot. Some time after the incident, the scene shifts to a military cemetery in the United States, where a soldier and sniper named Brandon Beckett is standing among the mourners, attending the funeral of one of his fallen comrades in arms. After the funeral, Brandon is called by his superior, Major Richard Miller, who engages him in a serious conversation about a shooting incident in Colombia involving a professional sniper, and without much explanation, Richard assigns Brandon to immediately fly to Colombia and assist in the investigation as a sniper expert who will work with the joint team.
Come on, we need you down there.
There's a car
Parked right over there. There's a jet waiting for that car.
Upon arrival in Bogotá, Brandon heads to the base of operations and meets with the sergeant in charge of the investigation, who explains that their primary target is a dangerous drug kingpin named Jesus Morales, who has allegedly hired hitmen to get rid of his business rivals, and that for the past 10 years, Morales has been an elusive fugitive, constantly on the move and using underhanded tactics to disappear.
He has a network that is untraceable.
Last 3 months, his competition has been eliminated one by one. Bodies of his rivals turned up everywhere.
sniper hit 10 days ago.
Diego Paulo. He was painted in his bathtub. Bullet did most of the damage as it slowed down.
During the meeting, a female agent from the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency named Kate Estrada joined in and said that her team had just received vital information that Morales was currently hiding in a remote house on a plantation far from the city center, and so she insisted that they should move quickly and set up an ambush tomorrow morning before Morales could escape again, even though Sargent felt that the plan was too hasty and risky. Kate then appointed Brandon to be the sniper who would provide long-range cover for the assault team, and during the operation, he would be accompanied by a local agent named Santiago who would serve as his assistant in the field. Before leaving the room, Kate handed over all the files related to the mission and asked Brandon to study them thoroughly so that he would be fully prepared for a dangerous mission that could turn into a bloody ambush at any moment should things not go according to plan.
To move on Morales tomorrow. Well, that's what we've got. This is our first legitimate shot at him. Study up and get some rest. Big day tomorrow.
The next day, the mission started, and all teams were around the location. Brandon and Santiago, who served as snipers, were already in the forest so they could freely monitor the movements of the Estrada team. At the same time, Estrada's team moved towards Morales' house. They chose to take a detour so that their whereabouts would not be discovered by Morales' side. On the other hand, the sergeant in the office appears to be watching the mission via satellite. Not long after, John Sampson, a special agent assigned by the Department of Homeland Security, entered the room and took part in overseeing the mission at Morales' house. Returning to Estrada, whose troops were in the field, they seemed to have approached Morales' house. The first team started moving to ambush when all the troops were in position. Not long after the first team entered the house, suddenly, a bomb exploded, leaving several troop members dead. On the other hand, a mysterious sniper has been watching Estrada's troops from the forest and targeting one of her best partners, Pablo. Suddenly, a shot was fired, which hit Pablo in the leg, causing him to groan. Estrada, who saw him was injured, tried to help him and took him to a safer place. However, with this mysterious sniper's ability, another shot was fired at his head, and Pablo finally died.
Estrada.
I got this Mustang.
That's something on the scope. 11 o'clock.
After the attack from the mysterious sniper, Brandon and the others came out of their hiding place to see Pablo's condition. He realized that all of this was a trap set by Morales, and he assumed that the sniper who killed Pablo was a professional sniper because he managed to fire 2 shots at the target. The bullets used by the sniper are also not ordinary bullets that can be easily obtained by ordinary people. After the mission's failure, Estrada and Brandon again held a meeting with the sergeant and Samson to discuss the reasons for the failed ambush mission. They all believed that Morales had known about their plan, so he set up a trap for the ambush location.
And your eyes wide open.
That's it.
Those yours in the crotch, right?
It's good to have you on board.
At night, Santiago and Brandon went to the DEA dormitory, where they would rest while carrying out the mission. While heading to his room, they went up the building around the dormitory to guard against a mysterious sniper attack. On the other hand, Brandon learns about the mistakes his squad made in the previous mission, and he also finds out what kind of bullet the mysterious sniper used. Meanwhile, Estrada seems to be still grieving over the death of Pablo on the mission, and she is now going to a nightclub to meet someone. However, when she entered the nightclub, a man abused her, so she immediately beat him. Not long after, she finally met Carlos, who also served as a secret informant who gave her no various information about the thugs, including about Morales. Carlos said that Morales had hired a professional sniper nicknamed El Diablo or the Devil to kill all of his business rivals, so now he is the only biggest drug dealer controlling almost all of Colombia. Carlos suggested that Estrada not interfere in the Morales ambush mission so she would not become a target for El Diablo. According to the information that he got, if El Diablo had targeted Estrada, then her life would be in danger. However, she insisted that she could not give up on the mission, especially since she had lost her best coworker because he was killed by El Diablo. Hearing that, Carlos said he was trying to help and would update her soon about Morales and El Diablo.
Men survive.
Once El Diablo has your name.
If I work out on this job.
Trust nobody.
At the same time, Brandon immediately headed to the roof of the dormitory building to prepare his rifle after receiving news from Santiago that he saw a reconnaissance laser pointing at the building. El Diablo, who realized that Brandon had prepared his weapon, was even more interested in killing him. Thanks to directions from Santiago, Brandon has also seen the target he will shoot. With the ability of a professional sniper, they shot each other. El Diablo avoided Brandon's attack, and so did he, who immediately hid to coincide with the trigger of El Diablo's rifle.
Look what it is.
From the duel, it can be seen that El Diablo uses a different bullet from Brandon's bullet. The next day, Brandon, Estrada, and the sergeant have a video conference with Richard, Brandon's boss. Richard explained that the bullet used by El Diablo was a type of smart bullet with high technology so that it could turn and explode automatically according to the sniper's wishes. He also explained that the bullets belong to the United States Department of Defense, which is responsible for developing military technology, including the smart bullet.
Can we get back to the work at hand?
Get technology, getting a safe house that is actually safe.
Meanwhile, Morales was at his headquarters with some Bogotá City thugs, enjoying playing billiards. When he loses a pool game bet, Morales points his gun at one of the thug leaders named Manolo, who wins the game, making him scared. On the other hand, another thug named Victor seemed frightened by Morales' actions, even though after that, Morales did not press the trigger of his gun and said that he was only joking. Not long after, Morales left after one of his men reported that Brandon and Estrada were still alive. While heading to his room, he tries to contact El Diablo. Arriving there, he saw El Diablo sitting, pointing a gun at Morales, who had not yet paid him. It turns out that Morales refuses to pay him because he has not killed Brandon and Estrada and asks him to finish his job immediately if he wants to get paid. Meanwhile, Estrada, Brandon, and Santiago are now seen in a taxi to investigate El Diablo. A few moments later, Estrada received a call from Carlos, who told her the address of El Diablo's girlfriend, so they immediately headed to the address he gave. On the way, suddenly, a truck crashed into their car at an intersection.
Careful. Morales Familia controls that barrio.
So what's yours?
At the same time, Morales' men had also surrounded and started shooting at them.
Get out of here!
Unfortunately, in that incident, Santiago died after being hit by a shot fired by Morales' men. Meanwhile, Estrada went alone to El Diablo's girlfriend's house without telling Brandon, who was still busy dealing with attacks. When she arrives at the house of Diablo's girlfriend, Estrada is confronted by Manolo and his men because she tried to force her way into the house. Estrada, who was surrounded, tried to fight off the thugs, but she ended up being cornered. Luckily, Brandon came to help her, so they found and retrieved El Diablo's girlfriend's necklace, which had El Diablo's photo stored in it. Brandon, who had got the photo, immediately sent it to the sergeant and Samson, who were in the office to be identified to find out the real identity of the mysterious sniper. In that phone call, Brandon said that he and Estrada would temporarily hide while finding out more information about El Diablo and asked the sergeant not to send other troops to join the mission so that their whereabouts would be difficult to trace. Brandon and Estrada did this because they both suspected that Morales had connections with government agencies so that he could make his move before the DEA troop ambush was carried out. To ascertain the person in the government agency assisting Morales, Brandon and Estrada meet Carlos. Unfortunately, he has no information about this. However, he told them that some important people in government agencies might have helped Morales to facilitate the buying and selling of drugs that Morales was doing.
Sure too. His past caught up with him.
Up on these streets is forgiven.
From the information that Carlos provided, Brandon and Estrada started killing one by one the important people who had collaborated with Morales to lure him or El Diablo out. This action seemed to be opposed by Samson, who thought they could trigger chaos. On the other hand, Richard and the sergeant did not have a problem with their action because this method was considered effective enough to lure Morales out of hiding.
Intel. In a street war with La Familia de Seis.
Agent Estrada are moving the needle.
But the State Department's been all over.
One night, Morales, who knew that his business partner had been killed by Brandon and Estrada, immediately met El Diablo and gave the sniper some money to kill them that night. Without thinking twice, El Diablo immediately went to Manolo to get information and asked him for help so that thugs in the area would help the mission. With some money already received, Manolo is willing to do it and informs that Brandon and Estrada have worked with Carlos to carry out all their actions.
Fire Carlos.
Matching stat with his dad.
Me, en mi barrio.
After knowing this, El Diablo asked Manolo to hang Carlos in front of the church. Meanwhile, he hid around the church and waited for Brandon and Estrada to come out of hiding. When Estrada saw Carlos hanging from a tree, she panicked and planned to come out to save him. However, Brandon prevented her and told her it was a trap, so she would come out and then be killed by El Diablo or Morales' men. Brandon convinced Estrada that they could save Carlos from where they are now. Using his rifle, he shoots the rope that hangs Carlos before he runs out of breath. Unfortunately, El Diablo, who saw that, immediately shot Carlos and killed him.
In control.
The next day, Brandon and Estrada were seen attending Carlos's funeral with local residents who were saddened by his death. At that time, Brandon saw Victor's suspicious movements, so he decided to go after the thugs. Even though he had resisted, Victor finally agreed to work with Brandon and notify Morales headquarters because Morales had killed Carlos. From the information given by Victor, DEA troops immediately ambushed Morales headquarters. The ambush seemed to go smoothly, and Morales had no significant resistance when he was arrested. Not long after the arrest, he was taken by Samson to Miami to undergo trial at the United States Attorney's Office. On the other hand, El Diablo is also seen arriving in Miami using a fake identity and passing airport checks. Meanwhile, Brandon and his troops were making preparations at the airport to take Morales to the prosecutor's office. At that time, Brandon met with Richard, who showed him the latest smart bullet developed by the military. Richard explained that the smart bullet had more sophisticated and up-to-date technology than the smart bullet used by El Diablo to kill his victims. Not only that, but Richard also said that El Diablo was a former soldier who used to work at the United States Department of Defense. From the information obtained, the department has reported the loss of 100 smart bullets that he most likely carried. At the same time, El Diablo had arrived in a room at the airport and started preparing his sniper equipment to kill someone. Meanwhile, Morales was seen wearing a hood and was taken by several officers from a room to the car that would take him to the prosecutor's office. As Morales' convoy of cars had departed first, Samson seemed to wonder why Brandon and the others had not joined the convoy. Then Brandon explains that the convoy of cars that just departed was a decoy to protect the real Morales from attacks by others. He said that Morales, who was with the first convoy of cars, was someone else, while the real Morales would be escorted in a white van that would leave shortly. In his room, El Diablo was assigned by someone from the government to kill Morales before he leaked information about government people who had worked with him to run his illegal drug business. At the same time, Brandon and Estrada were opposite the building where El Diablo was. At that place, Estrada watched the first convoy of cars carrying Morales. Meanwhile, Brandon tried to target his rifle at El Diablo. After a message came to El Diablo's cell phone informing Morales' position in the white van, he immediately changed his shooting target and waited for the van to leave the airport exit. When he saw a white van come out, he immediately shot the van to pieces. At the same time, several gunmen also got out and opened fire on the van to ensure all the occupants were killed. On the other hand, Brandon, who had obtained El Diablo's coordinates, immediately shot using the smart bullet that Richard had previously given him. The shot finally hit El Diablo's head, which immediately killed him. During the action, it turns out Morales survived because he was in the first convoy of cars. Meanwhile, the white van shot by El Diablo was empty without passengers because the car was controlled remotely. The plan was indeed made by Brandon and the others to reveal Samson's crimes, who had collaborated with Morales in the drug business and ordered El Diablo to kill Morales to keep him safe because his name would not be dragged into the drug case. When she heard Samson's explanation, who seemed unrepentant about what he had done, Estrada, who had lost her best coworker, looked so angry that she hit him. At the end of the movie, after Samson is arrested, Richard appreciates Brandon and Estrada's performance in solving the case. Estrada was quite pleased and then left with Brandon from the venue. The film ends. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy, hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice just to be sure. You should watch the full movie. Thank you very much for watching.